Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast, the ultimate blueprint to self-love and inner peace. I'm your host, Danielle Van. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, life coach, meditation teacher, and author, I've spent my life studying and learning from the stories that make us human. It's my passion and goal to help you shift your mindset and create a lifelong revolution by teaching you about mental health, emotional intelligence, and handing over the life lessons you wish you would have learned but haven't up until now. These are the conversations to guide you into empowering you while living your most grounded, authentic, and balanced life. Many of us struggle with the concept of being good enough. But what if you're already good enough? While many reject this idea in its entirety, I sat down with therapist Lisa Tahir to chat about connecting with yourself and proving your mindset wrong when it questions your worth and right when you're in alignment with what you need and want. So let's not waste another moment. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast starts right now. You know, if you're a normal listener on the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast, you have heard us talk so much about trauma, about personal responsibility, about wounds, about really taking our lives into our own hands and finding a sense of self-authority, really is what it comes down to. I'm so excited to talk to you today, Lisa. I want to kind of dive right into this topic and tell us who you are.
Danielle, thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you today and our audience on Get Your Life Together, Girl, because that has been something at different stages in my life. I've spoken to myself, Lisa, get your life together.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest ahas is to know that maybe your life is more together than what you're even crediting yourself for. And I think as women, we can expect so much of ourselves and be too hard on ourselves. And so to lead with, what if your life is together enough? And to start to even praise the steps you've taken to be who you are and where you are. And for me, I'm a licensed therapist. I've done this work for over 20 years. And Danielle, I love helping people to heal and feel more strong and powerful and worthy, because I know that's where all the good things, how we let them in, is believing we deserve them.
Right.
And I see you're in agreement.
Yes, absolutely. We have so much alignment in that thought process. Together enough, such a big thought process that let's run down that line, because it's the work that we both do. Right, is showing people that even though this has happened, it's okay. And it is enough and you can move through it. So kind of what is your thought process behind that? What would you tell someone that they would say, you know, Lisa, my life's a mess. It's not together. How would you bring their mindset into maybe it is?
Well, first I would ask what they mean by that specifically, because this person might be in some situations that need some cleaning up. And the cleaning up, usually for me, Danielle, is centered around boundaries and not necessarily boundaries telling people stop, no, you can't. Maybe some boundaries with ourselves, like maybe we are engaging in communications with people, engagement with things that aren't healthy for us, and to really put the boundary on ourselves lovingly, you know, without the harshness. Hey, because I love myself, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I love myself, I'm not going to go there or spend time with this person anymore. And what if I was to do X, Y, and Z for myself instead? Be it some yoga, meditation, prayer, getting quiet with ourselves, with a journal. And I think that's where we start to really take responsibility for our happiness.
Right. It's so important. And everything that you said is obviously the framework of what I do as well.
Yeah.
It's the I love myself enough, though, that a lot of people who have been through really hard things, let's break it down for just a moment. trauma teaches us not to love ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And when we step outside of it and say, but I love myself enough, it's still a hard leap for some people.
Yeah. I think it's really step by step as I feel
Yeah.
into what you're saying, Danielle. And for me, it was helpful when I started therapy as a client when I was 21. And that's when I knew this is what I want to do with my life. This is what healthy love looks like,
Yeah.
to take better care of myself. And I always
Mhm.
turn to fitness, physical fitness. It's always been an important wheelhouse where I felt really good.
Yeah.
And yet it was more the emotional areas and habits. Like I talk in my book, The Chiron Effect, healing from drug addiction. And that
Mhm.
is something I learned really young. Alcohol and drugs is a way to soothe, is what it feels like in the beginning, but it's really
Right.
disconnecting from myself and others. And learning, hey, because if I was to love myself more, I'm not gonna take substances that hurt
Mhm.
my body and mind. And that was a path for me for a while. And then it's like, okay, loving myself if I loved myself more, I would maybe not text certain people and spend time
Right.
with them. And maybe I'd go cultivate friendships with other friends that I kind of, fell away from that were actually good and healthy and loving
Right.
and kind, and just kind of playing with the different areas of your life and your engagement with them to up level, like the way you're caring for yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. What you're really talking about is personal responsibility
Yeah.
and turning inward. Can you kind of define what personal responsibility is and what it looks like? And it's going to be different for everybody. I want to put that out there, right? That looks
Yeah.
different for everyone. But if we're talking in generals,
Personal responsibility for me, Danielle, sounds like I can. I
mm,
can, I can do this, I can figure this out. That even if right now you don't know the exact steps to
mm,
take, knowing that they're available and
right,
and they're within, I was taught, and I think a lot of us were taught our solutions are outside of us.
right.
And it's really about learning kind of the inward messaging in our minds, like really it's all the transformation is with in between our own two ears and the
Mhm,
thoughts that we're telling ourselves about ourselves, and we
right.
do that daily and repetitively. And so for me, taking personal responsibilities for the thoughts that I'm thinking and knowing that I don't have to subscribe to what I was told or what I was taught or even what people believe in the paradigm in general, it's okay to have different opinions and beliefs about ourselves. Because I
Right.
think when we radically change those, our life starts to look better and different. And you don't have to ask for permission or share it with anyone. I've learned it's better not to, Danielle, when you're
Right.
doing this inner work. Really say to yourself every day, I am the most important person in my universe. And notice
Mhm.
how that feels. If you're kind of like, is the sky going to fall because I'm thinking
Right.
this? But that
Yeah.
really will start to inform how you live your life. If I'm the most important person in my universe, then what do I need to do to maintain feeling that and believing that? Like, I think it starts with a morning routine. I definitely
Mhm.
spend a few minutes with myself, with the universe, in meditation, with my coffee, just feeling for, asking for help and guidance today. I did that this morning. And
Mhm.
just wanting to really be attuned to my path for today. Because when you take really good care of yourself, you can be of the most service.
Mhm.
You can be more selfless by starting with yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this? And what is personal responsibility for you?
Yeah, I love that. You and I could be besties. We're
Yes,
gonna
I
say
love that.
that.
Yes.
So personal responsibility for me is exactly what you said, right? It's that being able to witness that nobody's going to come in. It's you. And you do have that ability to change the trajectory. And when you do turn inward, you realize that everything outside of you has a choice to it. I can let
Hmm.
it in, I can process it, I can move it through me, and I can deal. If I give myself the ability, you said permission, which is always my biggest thing, right? Permission. If I can give myself permission to one, sit with it, be within it, move through it, I will find resolution for it.
Yes.
So that for me is what personal responsibility is. It is first a choice, then an action.
Yeah, and for me, I talk about sometime that choice, it's a thought choice. And I talk about
Yes.
self-forgiveness because for me, forgiveness was always taught as something I do for someone
For
else.
everybody else.
That
Yeah.
like somebody hurts me and I just need to somehow find the inner
Hmm.
resources to forgive. And I think that's hard for a lot of people when
Yeah.
you haven't first looked at maybe there's some things to forgive yourself for instead of judge yourself for, that wherever you were when this thing happened, be it a trauma, a
Hmm.
disappointment, and it's not saying like this is my fault in a bad way, but
Right.
maybe there was like a belief that you had around something going differently, but your
Hmm.
intuition might have been speaking to you, hey, like something's not right here. But again, I think we're taught, especially as women, to give others the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Let's be kind, let's be loving, let's put ourselves on the back burner. And sometimes that leads us into some territory that's hurtful and
Hmm.
causes some wounding emotionally or financially that then we
Hmm.
need to clean up. And I think that's where we can take responsibility. Like, okay, my intuition is working because I knew something wasn't right here. But you
Yeah.
know what? It's okay. I wanted to please or get along. So now I learned I can trust my intuition. I can absolutely clean up whatever has happened.
Right.
It may take some time, but that's okay. And to know next time to trust yourself more. I think it's really about trusting ourselves, Danielle.
Yeah. I agree with you. So for me, permission, well, first it's safety, knowing that I'm safe enough to even do this work, right? That's huge. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's a far leap, and sometimes that takes us a long time to get to. Permission, they're pretty equal, right? Because without permission, you can't really have safety, but without safety, you can't really have permission.
Yeah.
And then trust. And if
Yeah.
you've spent a long time learning to not trust yourself and only take the learnings and the limits and the information from those around you, it's going to be damn hard work, but we have to do it. We don't have a choice in doing it if we want something to change.
And
That's the big caveat.
I hear Danielle between the lines of what you're saying, hope. I think add
Yeah.
some hope in there with the trust,
Yeah.
with the reconnecting to yourself and your inner knowing that you might have been trained away from as
Yeah.
a young child. And I see it, Danielle, kids playing on a playground and maybe a little girl innately like doesn't want to play with a certain child. And a parent might be
Hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh, go play with Jenny. She's nice."
Yeah.
And starting to train a child away from their inner knowing of maybe Jenny is nice, but just not for me. And I
Right.
think our inner self knows who and what is for us and who it, and what isn't. And we don't need to explain that. And I
Hmm.
think that's where we start to give our power away, is feeling like we need to explain or justify rather than just know
Right.
and move and act.
Yeah.
In that way, directing and guiding our lives, just knowing within that this is what's right for us. And that's how we gain confidence, I
Hmm.
think, and feel really strong about ourselves and in turn feel really happy.
Right. And I think that still we circle back into self permission and we circle back into responsibility. I know for me, when women come in, they often will say, but I don't know how to trust that voice.
Mm.
I've spent so many years keeping it small, keeping it quiet. It'll come in, but then I don't trust it. So perhaps in a conversation about that, perhaps a thought process of how do we learn to trust that inner knowing?
I think it's awesome that they come into you saying that. And I would say, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's so good you even hear that voice. Like
Yeah.
that's a win. That's a success. Maybe
Yeah.
ask it some more questions. What do you want me to know? And I
Yeah.
think it really takes carving out some moments in our day with the journal or even just in our own minds. Like, hey,
Mhm.
what's coming up? What's going on inside
Right.
of me? When you notice maybe feeling a little edgy, like some days I notice I might feel just a little edgy or anxious, and when I
Mhm.
can take a few moments to ask myself, like, what's going on? And
Right.
try to connect it to my thought in that moment, because there's always a thought connected to our emotional states.
Yes.
And when we can tune in to what that thought is in neutrality without judgment as much as
Mhm.
possible, and then ask, even, is this, am I fearing this thing that hasn't happened? Like, what do I really want to happen instead? And to reach for that better feeling thought of how we'd
Hmm.
like things to go, how we'd like it to turn out, and start to emotionally connect to that can help in the moment
Yeah.
to feel for the solution.
Yeah. Oh, I love those words, to feel for the solution. Oh, those are powerful words. Super powerful words. Lock that in, ladies. Like, seriously, lock that in. It goes to the point that exactly what you were just saying. I will often say, ask yourself, what is the cost of this?
Mm,
What is the cost, right? If I look at something, and cost for many people has a very negative connotation, but it actually has a very good connotation too if you allow it to, right?
hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what's the cost? Well, the cost is peace. It's freedom. It's the ability to really slow down, to know myself. The cost on the other side is negativity and disjointedness and dysregulation.
Yeah.
But if I lock in and really give myself permission to hear really beautiful words.
Thank you. So are yours. Yeah, I
Thank
really feel
you.
this vibration of knowing. And I really never I heard from the youngest of age, like the answers are within you, all these quotes
Yeah.
about it. And I feel like that hasn't started to be real until more recently,
Mm.
where like when you really sit with yourself as you're in therapy or in a healing process, if that's where
Mhm.
you're at, learning the skills, I had to learn skills of, for example, containment and self soothing. I think self
Mhm.
soothing is key, Danielle, in this
Yeah.
conversation, because
Agreed.
when our central nervous system is in high alert and
Yeah.
hyper arousal, we are disconnected from our
Right.
problem solving abilities. We're in fight, we're in flight, or
Yeah.
freeze,
Yeah.
shut down, however you like to say that. And it's by calming, by soothing, is when we start to
Mhm.
access
Right.
our mind and our ability to align with solution. And I've even started to say, when I'm unsure, universe, like I want to align with the solution. And I start
Mm.
to feel calm immediately. Like I'm
Yeah.
choosing, because it's our choice to align with the solution. And like that feels different
Yeah.
than focusing on a problem. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I agree with you 100%. I will often say, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
That's
What was
good.
the first thing, right?
That's
Because
good.
you're going to overthink it. But what was that very first thing? Well, it was this, this, and this. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah.
Actually, it does. Okay. Don't deviate from that then. Stay in that and see what the outcome is, right? That's that inner knowing talking to you.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I love that. What's the first thing? Because sometime I think often that comes up, and unless we really embrace that in the first few seconds, we can talk ourselves out of it, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said. And
Yeah.
often it is that first thing that could be a really wonderful next step.
Yeah. It's for me, I will often ask exactly like you said, what's the solution or what do you want me to do?
Hmm.
And instead of judging whatever comes up, and this is where we get sideways in so many things, right? Judging, not giving the permission there, not trusting, not having the hope. But okay, I'll write it down. I'm going to set with it. I'm going to put it off to the
I
side,
love that. Yeah.
right? I'm just going to write it down and then I'm going to walk away from it. And if I come back to it within 24 hours and it still feels right,
Yes.
that's where I'm going. The rush,
Yes.
the rush is a big thing. And you said self-containment. I want to talk about that because generally when we do not have the ability to self-soothe or have that self-containment, the rush is where we go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when we turn outside of ourselves for
Yeah.
soothing, be it a person, a substance,
Mhm.
all the things outwardly that we do to try to soothe ourselves, work temporarily.
Yeah.
But I encourage people to have those are like external ways to soothe yourself, to also have
Mhm.
internal ways, be it to go take a walk. For me, I love taking walks without a phone, without music, to
Me
just
too.
to be with myself, a walk, a drive, meditation,
Mhm.
yoga, exercise, just something to music. I love hot baths also,
Mhm.
just to soothe your physical body in a
Yeah.
way to be present with yourself, even when that feels really hard or challenging.
Yeah. There are a host of ways to get into that space. So it's what works for you. I do all of the things you were just mentioning. And of course, that's also what I teach. I recently found infrared lights. Have you tried that?
No, tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, they're so amazing. You can get them. They're kind of expensive, but they're worth it, right? So
Okay.
there are these bulbs that emit infrared light and they're
Okay.
healing and they're so calm and so peaceful.
Okay.
Really beautiful way to get into that kind of calm space too.
I'm making a note of this. Thank you.
You're
Infrared
welcome.
light. Very cool.
It's so lovely. It's a really beautiful healing tool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't
sound. I think sound. I love sound
yeah.
frequencies. Some there's
Yeah.
things beyond what we see and can speak that really help soothe our central nervous system, our brain.
Let's talk about that disconnection just a little bit more before we maybe talk about some tools beyond yoga, some things that maybe you could help kind of open our mind to, if you would.
Yeah.
What do you find is the disconnection point for most people? And I know that we're putting everything in a really general category, but
Sure.
any thoughts that kind of pop in as to what you're seeing most of?
I think the disconnection is a disconnection from trusting ourselves, a disconnection from believing that whatever I'm thinking or feeling is right for me.
Mm,
And I think sometimes it's scary to have an inner knowing about something when it's in conflict with the people that you're surrounded with, be it in your home,
right.
with your partner, kids, your family, or the community at large. So I think it's really giving yourself permission, Danielle,
Yeah.
as you're saying,
Yeah.
to to even say, hey, like I'm not seeing things in the same way that you are. And
Hmm.
like I really want to try this out. And to let people know in your house, for instance, that I'm gonna try some new and different things for myself. And even asking, like, I've acted like I'm fine, like everything's well, but I
Yeah.
actually would love if you could help me with some things that I've been shouldering and
Yeah.
acting like I'm fine with. But could you help me maybe with
Mhm.
dinner or doing X, Y, and Z so I can have some time for myself and maybe offloading some of the things
Yeah.
we do to be strong and competent and allowing asking for help can be hard sometimes. So I think
Yeah.
asking for that help when it's needed.
Yeah, exactly what you said. It is so hard for women, especially when we have families
Yeah.
that things have been a certain way and what will they think? And,
Yes.
they're so used to me doing this and this and this, and
Yes.
I just can't take it anymore.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, if your partners are conscious and aware, they know that you're at a breaking point,
Mhm.
right? And if you
Yeah.
have an open line of communication with your partner, they are going to hopefully, most likely say, let me take your hand and take whatever we need to do so
Yes.
that we
Yes.
can have a conscious relationship,
Mhm.
right? I think it's the fear so often that we kind of try to forecast what someone's going to say
Right.
instead of asking
Yeah.
what somebody says.
And I think it's okay to even say, "Hey, I feel some nervousness around bringing this up with you, or
Mhm.
I feel some anxiety, and
Mhm.
but here it is. Like this is what's really going on with me,
Right.
and I just want you to know because ideally your partner would want to know and want to help you so you're not struggling, and maybe they've been feeling it too. And this
Mhm.
shift in the relationship could actually be positive for both of you.
Right. I can't tell you how many times women have come in to the office and they're like, I just can't tell my husband this. I can't tell my wife this. I can't, right. And
Yeah,
they're really struggling. And I say, why don't we try to break it down into little bite-sized pieces? Let's not like trauma dump everything that you're feeling on one, in
yeah,
one conversation. Let's have a slow drip and
yeah,
let's see what happens. And they'll come
yeah.
back, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they were so open to the conversation. I, like, had no idea." I'm like, "Because you've gotten in your own way."
Yes, in your own head about, like you said, forecasting, which I
Yeah.
think is we have the power to forecast. And I
Mhm.
think when we realize it's actually a power, that what if I was to start forecasting good things? What
Mm,
if I was and I've noticed even for myself when I first started doing that, it felt really unfamiliar because most people say, if I prepare for the worst, I'm
right.
gonna be okay. And actually, no, if you prepare for the worst, that's most likely some version of that will happen. What if
Yeah.
you prepare for the best? What if? And just to try it even for a week. And I feel like your brain scrambling even as I'm speaking
Yeah.
this to
Yeah.
someone, because mine did that for a while. And it's like, what if things can really work out for me? What if, like, of course they can. Like, since things are always working out for me, I expect this to
Mhm.
go well too. And you don't need to know every nuanced detail. Even just being open to this going well, whatever this is, can allow
Yeah.
things to be rearranged so it goes well.
That in of itself is a tool. I
Yeah.
want you to really think about that, ladies, is that I am going to stop trying to forecast everything in a negative to try to hopefully keep myself safe. And I'm
Yeah.
going to start putting everything in a positive frame to create safety.
Yes, because we create, our words create, our
Yeah.
words are our thoughts in clothing. I think Ernest
Ooh,
Holmes
yeah.
said that back
Yeah.
in the 1920s. And it's so true that your words, so that's why I encourage if your words, if you're not really in that place of certainty, it's better not to speak things because it is going to come out with a fearful tone and anxious tone to
Yeah.
kind of incubate them like a baby. Your thoughts are like babies inside
Yeah.
of you. They have a maturation process. And to just even I ask for help. Like
Mhm.
universe, God, whoever you speak to, I
Right.
turn this over every detail, every detail. Help me handle this because I don't know all the ways. I just know I want this to work out for
Yeah.
me. And I ask
Mhm.
for your help and guidance in every way. And I think it, I speak it until I actually feel in my body like like a
Mhm.
relaxation in my heart, in my chest area, in that
Yeah.
chakra, in your heart chakra, which
Mhm.
mediates between our mind and the lower impulses of our body. To it's like the middle ground where things are really worked out.
And it's exactly that that gets in the way. Okay, I have this thought. I'm trying to run down the line. Again, creating the safety. If I do this, this will happen. Your thoughts are always going to lead you to a
Mm-hmm.
path.
Yeah.
It's going to lead you there. So what do you want to be led to?
And I think as a tool to answer that question, Danielle, sometimes we're a little too specific and that
Yes.
gets us tied up in knots and
Yeah.
feeling badly and in confusion and worry. Go general. It's okay
Mhm.
to just go general. Like, hey, I just want this to go well. It can
Yeah.
be that general. Whatever helps you feel our emotions are such a powerful guidance system and they
Yeah.
let us know where we're going. Like when you're driving at night and your headlights are on, you can only see, say, 200 feet ahead in the dark, but if you're on I-10 to go from Houston to New Orleans, you're going to get
Mhm.
there. And you
Right.
trust, even though you can't see the whole road, I'm on the right road.
Yeah.
And in the same way, our emotions let us know if we're on the right thought path or if we're on the wrong one. Because we're on the wrong one, we feel sad, upset, angry,
Mhm.
frustrated, fearful. And when we're on the correct path, we feel a bit more levity, a bit
Yeah.
more calm and
Mhm.
peace.
Right. And it's important to point out, so important because so many of us do not understand our emotions, right? We're just kind of thrown to the to society and said, "Here,
Yeah.
figure this out." And your definition and my definition can be very different based on our experiences. There is a difference between fear and uncertainty.
Yeah.
Big difference. And a lot of
Yes.
times people will take the uncertainty and think that it's fear and say, this is a roadblock. I can't do it. And so if I have a very specific plan and I attach to the end result, it'll keep me safe. I'll feel better about it.
Right.
And yet, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, Danielle, hearing you speak about uncertainty slash, I'm going to add anxiety. And
Yes.
if you think of that as a coin, on the other side of that coin is excitement. I think some of the
Mhm.
things we feel some anxiety about might be because we're also kind of excited
Yeah.
about the possibility.
Yeah.
And we're taught, again, not to dream so big or not to like, what if I get so excited about this going well? Like,
Mhm.
and I would encourage you, yes, dream about that. That's what meditation can be, a time where you just really sink into using your imagination, which kids are so great at,
Mhm.
to go back to that inner child, his imagination,
Yeah.
and like really feel into what do I want here? What would really delight me? And to train your mind. The mind is here to serve us,
Mm-hmm.
not the other way around. And we're not taught in school the powerful tool of our mind to guide and direct our lives. And we don't have to give in to every emotion. We have up to
Mm-hmm.
70,000 thoughts a day
Yes.
and emotions connected to those thoughts. So it's really about, for me, meditation has taught me to train my mind to be more stable,
Yeah.
a
Mm.
stable and strong mind. So I am not just blown every which way throughout a day,
Yeah.
feeling, fearing like, no, I'm having a good fucking day because it's
Exactly.
my decision to. And like, that's my position every month. This is going to be the best
Yeah.
day of my life. And whatever
Exactly.
words resonate with you to use.
It made me think, and I often will tell my clients, and I they always giggle, but it's because the play is a part of this. And when you have the play a part of it, it helps our minds so much. You were talking about really the kids using their imagination. If we
Hmm.
could get into that mindset and then allow ourselves to get there. When my youngest, my son, I think he was about 6 or 7. It was during the very start of COVID. He said, "All I want is donut. I want a donut." I'm like, "I'm sorry, they're all closed. Like maybe we can make some at home, something, right?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, I really want a donut." And so I saw him lay down on the couch and he was dreaming about a donut and he was having this very visual, they're going to bring them, they're going to drop them off. And several hours later, we hear what sounds like the ice cream truck arrive on the street. And he goes running to the door. And Lisa, I kid you not, it was a donut truck. They were
OMG.
they
He
were going
manifested that.
he did. They were going through the
Yeah.
neighborhood where they knew kids were selling donuts. And I
Wow.
always tell people that. I'm like, if you have no resistance to what you put in your
It's
mindset,
true.
it will arrive.
I love that story. It's
Yeah.
mind blowing, yet
Yeah.
it's how life works. And when
Yeah.
we can tune into kind of that magic, kind of that
Mhm.
part of life, and even I live between New Orleans and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And last year in Los Angeles, I was on my couch in my apartment and I was feeling a little cold. And I was like, oh man, I don't have a throw blanket. And it was a weird thought. And I
Mm.
know enough about myself and life. When I have a weird thought, spend a little time there. Because the
Yeah.
thought wasn't to get on Amazon and order a blanket. The thought was, universe, I want you to send me a blanket that
Yeah.
I don't order. And it was the weirdest thought. And I just kind of laughed at myself and dismissed it. The
Yeah.
next day, there's a knock on my door. And this is an apartment, like you have to come in with a code,
Yeah.
an Amazon package. My sister sent me a blanket. I am not shitting you. And
I
I was
love
like,
it.
universe, I believe,
Yes.
like bring the money, bring the love, like
Bring it all.
I'm open and available. Because things really have, like you said, when you're not in resistance, like it's a blanket. And I just
Mhm.
kind of thought it and let it go, and it
Yeah.
materialized in less than 24 hours. Things
Yeah.
like that can happen for us. Really good things.
Yeah.
Life wants that for you. Good
Yeah.
things.
And that all goes back to what we were talking about just a few moments ago. If you have the thought and you give yourself permission and you know it's your responsibility to follow it and you connect the good, positive things to it, the donut truck and the blanket are going to appear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what's happening. A shit show could be burning down around you. Okay, here I
Right.
am.
Yeah.
I just want resolution. I just want
Yes.
solution. It's okay.
And to soothe yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
hear and see, to just soothe
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. It's such a powerful thing. Is there any other or are there other tools that come to mind right now for you as we kind of move through this conversation that may help someone find that sense of soothing?
One of the biggest thing that's helped me, and I find that I employ this weekly pretty much, is when I'm asked to do something, be it something fun like dinner or a play or an event or a work thing, I used to always say yes.
Mm,
And then all of a sudden I have all this shit on my calendar and I realize there's no time for me and I'm feeling overwhelmed, but like I don't want to cancel. I don't want to seem flaky. So I would do things kind of in that people pleasing way and legitimate things that were fun. Like, of course, I want to have dinner with friends or go to this performance, but maybe it wasn't the best use of my time. if I had a busier week and I had a hard time feeling like I could cancel or change my mind. So I've
Yeah.
started now to say, that sounds awesome, but let me get back to you. And
Yes.
by putting that buffer of time, and as simple as that sounds, it's changed my life
Yes.
because then I'm not committing and canceling. Or if I do, I feel better about
Yeah.
that because it's okay to change your mind. I
Yeah.
didn't know that, to be honest. It's okay to change
Yeah.
my mind and like to show up for yourself, to stay in your alignment, to stay healthy and balanced. But it can help if you just say, maybe let me get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the offer. I'll circle back around. That's often
Yeah.
what I often say. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Let me circle back to you. And if
Yes.
I haven't told you in a week, call me up. Let me know. Right? Like
Right.
I may forget, but yeah, definitely taking that personal space, knowing that it's your responsibility to take care of yourself first
Yes.
and finding a space of like you said, self-soothing. It's so important. You've mentioned your book a few times. I'd love to dive in a little bit more about that. Tell us again the
Sure.
title and kind of the thought process. What are we learning?
Okay, so this book it's called The Chiron Effect, Chiron, healing our core wounds through astrology, empathy, and self-forgiveness. And
Mm,
what this book is about as at its core is learning to tune ourselves back to our
yeah.
inner knowing, to our intuition. And I lay the book out starting with we are a container for change, that
Mm,
containment, is like really being container
mhm.
of our experience and the resulting emotions and learning to make sense of them and to weave your story. When we create meaning about the experiences of our lives, we can start to feel better, even the painful ones,
Yeah.
because we can use that to maybe help someone else. Or you might have a podcast in you,
Yeah.
someone listening, or a book to write, or a blog to start, or
Yeah.
something to offer on your social media to share what your experience has taught you
Yeah.
and to really look for those silver linings is coming to mind, but I don't feel like that's totally accurate. Like,
Yeah.
what message your life has to live through you and starting
Yeah.
to share that. And Chiron, I learned, is an astrological placement in your birth chart. Like, what is your sun sign, Danielle?
I'm Virgo.
Okay, your Virgo. Is your
Yeah.
birthday soon? We're in
It was
Virgo
yesterday.
season.
It was yesterday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
belated birthday. So
Thank
your
you.
Chiron is in a different sign than
Yeah.
Virgo, and I'd have to look at your birth chart. But
Yeah.
what Chiron indicates is an area of our lives that we source our thought patterns from. And
Mm,
we can only go as far as our largest limiting belief. If you
okay.
think about that for a
Yes.
second, that's kind of the
Absolutely.
ceiling is what we
Right.
believe is true. And so my book helps you identify where we might believe we can only go this far and to transcend that to go even bigger to
Yeah.
really through forgiving ourselves for not doing x y or z and
Yeah.
instead of blaming and shaming ourselves like that actually was your path. And so
Right.
from here, where do I want to go? And taking personal responsibility along with psychology and using
Mm,
some spirituality
yeah.
to really like embrace our lives and ourselves. And the astrology piece, it's not that your birth chart, people think astrology is like, oh, this chart, this is my life. Like it's this chart.
Yeah.
And like, I believe we wrote our charts. Our chart is just a blueprint, like a kind of a guidebook of what we wanted to live, but we can
Right.
change that through our thoughts, through our free will. It's just kind of like a symbolic language to
Yeah.
me. And Chiron really shows the area to support ourselves in. I give takeaway steps and affirmations to help with that specific, be it a core wound, if there's
Mhm.
been trauma, like by abandonment or neglect, or through not valuing your own self. And for some of you, it might just be a vulnerability, like an ouch versus a core wounding. Wherever you are in that spectrum, we can take responsibility to heal through that and
Mhm.
really live the life we want.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's exciting.
Thank
That's
you.
exciting. I love
Thank
that.
you.
And where can people get it?
Amazon.com. You can Google Lisa Tahir And if you have a favorite local bookstore, I love local brick and mortars. They can order it for you from my publisher. So just everywhere books are sold.
My mind had to go back to my roots, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'll hand it over to you. I started my work not as a therapist, but I was a news anchor.
Okay.
And when we actually are reading the teleprompter and the screen that comes up, like to say your name or any information on the news, it's called a chyron. It's
Nuh-uh.
yeah, it's the blueprint
Oh my
of
God.
the message that the audience will receive.
I have never been told that. That's amazing.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
My
The
mind is like, oh,
message,
you have
the
to tell.
message the audience will receive. Yes, there's a
Yeah,
message for you to receive, and it's being transmitted to you all the time
right.
through your daily life experiences and your intuition.
Yeah. I had to share that with you. It came up.
Thank
So I was like,
you.
it must be. I need to share it. I have to give that to you. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Anything that we missed? Is there something that you wish women knew?
I wish women knew how good enough and worthy we are right
Mm,
now, wherever you are sitting. If you can close your eyes for a moment, even put a hand on your heart and just say, I'm okay.
mm,
I'm going to be okay.
mm,
And to start to look for how valuable and worthy you are and let people in your life show you that too.
mhm,
Take in the help and the compliments you're given and the praise. Just say thank you and receive it, not
mm,
deflect it with a
yeah.
but. Yes, to when someone says you look nice or you're beautiful or I appreciate you, thank you, to just let that in.
Mhm. I call the word "but" the slap,
Mm,
right? I use
yeah.
that often, and I want you guys to think about that too, is "I love you, but" do you really? It's the slap, right? Or whatever it might be. If you feel like you need to say, but remember that you are not giving yourself compassion, self trust, safety, love, all of the things. Take it out. It's okay. You don't need it.
And Danielle, you are delightful. I love
Oh,
your energy. Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. I end our podcast, our time together, the same way because it's so eye opening and it's so beautiful to hear. And so I'll ask you, Lisa, what are your 3 gratitudes? What are the 3 things that you find to be the most grateful, to have the most appreciation in your life, whether right now or in the trajectory of things? Just what is your gratitude?
The first thing that pops up is I'm just so happy and grateful for my mobility, for my
Mm,
ability to physically move and walk and have physical freedom and my health. Like that's the first thing. Every day I'm just so happy that I can walk and take myself everywhere I'd like to be. And then I appreciate, I love my kitty cats. One of them, Smelly Cat, was in the video with us. And I'm really happy and grateful for people.
Yeah.
I love people. I think there's more good than not in all of us. We just need
Mm,
to give ourselves permission to nurture and cultivate that, even when something happens and someone is not in their highest vibration, and to just meet that with neutrality,
mhm.
versus, two wrongs don't make a right. We hear to there's more good than not in all of us. And I'm really happy and grateful for that.
Yeah. What powerful words. If you leave with nothing else today, leave with that. There is more good than not in us. And it is our responsibility, it's our job to really lean into that and create our lives through that, and therefore create change in everything that we do. Thank you,
Yes.
Lisa. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you.
What a great conversation. If you're interested in learning more about Lisa, visit her Instagram at Nola Therapy or visit her website at nolatherapy.com. You can also find the link to her book and our show notes. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl podcast. If you're seeking daily inspiration and additional tools and tips, you can follow me on social media at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Clapper, Pinterest, Insight Timer, and now Threads. You can also visit the show note and my blog at my website, getyourlifetogethergirls.com. I invite you to review this podcast. And also, if you listen on Apple, please subscribe. The newest iPhone update actually took those subscriptions away. We don't want you to miss a single episode. I can't thank you enough for being a valuable member of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.